Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're setting off on a kind of voyage, a journey to understand something that honestly powers our entire world, research. It's how we solve massive global problems, but it's also happening all around us in ways we might not even notice. I mean, seriously, think about that for a second. How does Netflix do that? It feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's the result of a really careful, systematic investigation into what millions of people like you and me are watching. And boom, that right there is research in action, shaping our everyday lives. And that's why thinking about research as a voyage is so perfect. Just like those old-school explorers, every researcher is stepping out from what's known into the great unknown. They're driven by this intense curiosity, this need to figure things out.
So what's the formal definition? Well, our source material here puts it beautifully. It says research is a careful investigation through search for new facts, and that, crucially, it is actually a voyage of discovery. It's about taking that little voice in our heads that always asks why or how and turning it into a structured process for finding real answers.
Okay, so before any explorer sets sail, they need to know where they're going, right? They need a destination. In research, we call this our objective. And figuring this out is, without a doubt, the most important first step. And generally, there are four main destinations you can choose from. First, you might just want to explore. You're heading into uncharted territory and just want to get familiar with the landscape. Or maybe your goal is to describe something in detail, to paint a super clear picture of what's going on. A third destination is to diagnose, basically to figure out how often something is happening. And finally, the most specific goal is to test a hypothesis, to see if one thing actually causes another. Knowing which of these you're doing is key, because it's going to shape your whole journey.
All right, once you've got your destination plugged into the GPS, you need to pick the right map to get there. Because different questions need totally different kinds of maps. Let's look at the main types you'll encounter.
So you're at a major fork in the road. Your first choice is your route. Are you doing applied research? That's all about finding an immediate solution to a real-world problem. Think, how can we make this product sell better? Or are you taking the path of fundamental research? This is all about curiosity. You're seeking knowledge just for the sake of it, like trying to understand the origins of the universe.
Now, beyond that, you have to decide how you're going to observe the landscape. With descriptive research, you're basically a reporter. You have no control over anything, you're just documenting what you see as it is. But with analytical research, you're more like a detective. You take all the facts and information that are already out there and you analyze them to find a new pattern or a new conclusion.
Okay, this next part is huge. We've got our destination, we've picked our map, now it's time to choose our tools. This is probably the most famous distinction in all of research, quantitative versus qualitative.
I absolutely love this analogy because it gets right to the point. Is your mission to precisely count and measure things, like an astronomer charting thousands of stars in the night sky, or is your mission to understand the rich, deep stories and meanings behind them, like an anthropologist gathering ancient myths about those same constellations?
Let's just break that down as simply as possible. Quantitative research is all about the numbers. It answers how many or how much. It's about measurement. Qualitative research, though, is all about the why. It's about digging into the quality, the kind, the motives behind why people do what they do.
And this table, this just lays it all out so perfectly. Take a look at the qualitative column on the left. The focus is subjective. It's about opinions, motives, desires. You use things like in-depth interviews. And the analysis? It comes down to the researcher's insights. Now look over at the quantitative side. Everything flips. The focus is on objective, numerical data. The goal is to measure and test hypotheses using surveys and experiments, and the analysis is all about strict statistical math. They're two totally different but equally powerful ways of seeing the world.
Whew, we have covered a ton of ground here. So, before you head off on your own research adventure, let's just quickly pack our Explorer's Toolkit with the absolute essentials.
So, let's recap what's in that toolkit. First, remember that research is a systematic voyage of discovery. Second, your objective, whether you're exploring, describing, diagnosing, or testing, that's your destination. Third, you've got to choose your map. Are you on an applied path to solve a problem, or a fundamental one to build a theory? And finally, you pick your tools, quantitative for the numbers, qualitative for the meaning behind them.
Getting these fundamentals right is really the secret to any successful research project. You've got the compass, you've got the map, you've got the tools. So I guess the only question left is the one that kicks off every single great adventure. Your voyage awaits. What will you discover?